Thanks for staying with us. I'm Bill O'Reilly in the Weekdays of Bernie segment tonight. Suing Fox News and defending Beyoncé. Left is deeply invested in doing the latter. Last night on The Factor, Mike Huckabee and I discussed how some of Beyoncé's videos may not be very good for impressionable young girls who idolize her. Now, I've raised that theme before, and the left-wing media has gone nuts. After talking with me, Governor Huckabee visited Jon Stewart.
You have this idea of the Hollywood culture. And the example, you sort of use Jay-Z and Beyonce as an example of that. You view that as a sort of a permissiveness that you think is not great for our children. Is that correct?
The thing that disturbs me, let's say, about when you see Beyonce, who is a role model to young girls. Right. Young girls want to be like her.
Right.
Do you know any parent who has a daughter that says, honey, if you make really good grades, someday when you're 12 or 13, we'll get you your own stripper pole? I mean, come on, John. We don't do that in our culture.
I think that's diminishing Beyonce in a way that's truly outrageous.
Stewart, one of many liberal people who does not want you to say anything bad about Beyoncé. Joining us now from Miami to explain why, Bernie Goldberg. What is this madness? You know, when I first did this, my analysis came before Governor Huckabee's book. I was surprised. I mean, the attacks, even last night on the left-wing websites, O'Reilly and Huckabee's obsession with Beyoncé, like we care about her. I care about the young girls who may imitate her and in the process hurt themselves. But what is this madness?
Well, let me lead up to it this way. First, let's acknowledge that social conservatives have a history of, at times, going overboard and being too prudish. They thought rock and roll was going to corrupt America's youth. They thought Elvis shaking his pelvis was going to corrupt kids. So I think it's important to note that at times they do see demons where they're not and they go too far. Now we have Beyoncé. I am not saying at all that her lyrics or her videos are going to corrupt young girls, but there's no question that she influences young girls, especially young black girls. So when she sings, and feel free to bleep any of this, when she sings, he popped all my buttons and he ripped my blouse, he Monica Lewinsky all over my gown. Liberals ought to care if 10-year-olds hear stuff like that, because young girls, whether they're 10 or 12 or 14 or 8, they're not adult women. I'm not a prude. I don't care what adult women listen to or what they watch, but young girls aren't adult women. But here's the problem, and here's the answer to your question, Bill. Liberals would rather drink Drano and walk on broken glass than come off as uncool or square or prudish, especially when it's about sex. So they won't align themselves with social conservatives, even when social conservatives have a legitimate point. And the fact that Beyoncé is black is not irrelevant either.
How is that relevant, though? If she is, like, I went after Eminem early on because I just think he's vile. And then I went after Ludacris, both of whom put out stuff that was, you know, you think the liberal community would resent the gay bashing and the women bashing, you know, physical bashing of the women. You think they would. They didn't say a word. I had to. All right. And now Ludacris and Eminem were about the same. One, Eminem's white, Ludacris black. The reaction was about the same. But the black woman, then it gets into another zone, you're saying.
Yeah, well, I think so, because liberals see themselves as the protectors of black people. But let me give you a couple of examples of what you just talked about. Let's imagine, even though it's hard for me to imagine, that a conservative entertainer were singing songs about Monica Lewinsky on somebody's pants or gown or whatever it is. I guarantee you liberals in America would complain about that. They just don't complain when it's one of their people doing it, because they can't bring themselves to even appear to be on the same page or allies of social conservatives.
It's ideological. I mean, particularly for Stewart, and I know Stewart understands the point that I'm making and Huckabee is making. I know he understands the point.
That's an important point.
Right.
Even when they understand it, even when they privately say, I don't want my daughter hearing this stuff.
Right.
They won't say it out loud because that's giving ammunition
and it's not
to
cool.
you and Huckabee and Christian conservatives. And one other thing very quickly. Barack Obama has publicly said that he's embarrassed to be in the same room to listening to Beyoncé with his daughters, okay? But that's a typically liberal position. He doesn't go on to the next step, which is, why is he totally embarrassed? Because he doesn't want to hear lyrics about how the guy Monica Lewinsky'd on the girl's dress. That's what he doesn't want to hear. And if he doesn't want to hear it in the same place at the same time with his daughters, shouldn't he wonder, Bill, if it's okay for his daughters to hear it? And if it's okay for 14-year-olds or 15, what about 10-year-olds? What about 8-year-olds?
Yeah.
Do liberals draw a line any place when it comes to this stuff?
All right. Well, we're more obsessed, Bernie. You know that. All right. We got a minute. The mayor of Paris, Anne Hidalgo, says she's going to sue Fox News for reporting on so-called no-go zones in Paris that are dominated by Muslims, and police hesitant to go in there. At least that has been a reportage on some places. I didn't have anything to do with this, but I will point out that the mayor is a socialist, that Fox News isn't even seen in France because they block it. So this is just an attention getter, another playing to the left. That's what this is. Suit's going nowhere. It's ridiculous.
Well, I don't know what the laws are in France. If this were in America, it would be called a frivolous lawsuit because a city, anybody can sue anybody, but a city can't win a lawsuit because it's been insulted.
Right.
However,
but we didn't even insult it.
Well, somebody did. However, if any news organization has to apologize as many times as Fox has over this one issue,
but that wasn't the issue. It was a Birmingham, England thing. It was different. It was a different issue there, and it was an Emerson play. It doesn't work for Fox News. It was a commentator who they put on. Bernie Goldberg, everybody, and here's a reminder about our dramatic Mad as Hell segment. It'll be on Friday. If you're peeved